Please welcome to the stage Afghanistan war veteran David Henson. How are you? You can come and sit down here. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Right, perhaps we could start by you telling us your story.
Okay, so as you said, my name's Dave Henson. I joined the military in 2008. I was deployed to Afghanistan in 2010 as a Royal Engineer Search Advisor. So I was in charge of leading a small team of soldiers in the search for improvised explosive devices on the ground in Afghanistan. I was very fortunate to work with the Danish and the Americans and the Irish while I was out in Afghanistan, but unfortunately on the 13th of February in 2011 I stood on an IED which resulted in the loss of both of my legs above the knee. That's the introduction, I suppose.
Yes, so that is, quite a story, isn't it? And what impact has that had on your life? Initially, how sort of despondent were you about the future?
At point of injury, I was very frustrated. So I remember lying on the ground, looking down at the remainder of my legs and being sort of screaming out in frustration and wondering what my family would think, how we would cope together. And from then, I suppose, it's been a long and difficult journey. But a lot of things have changed, whilst a lot of things have still remained the same, I suppose.
What initially happened? How did you get from the scene of the incident to the hospital, for example?
So when I was injured, I remember pushing myself back up against a wall. I think I was trying to sort of escape the situation in front of me. And I remember screaming, and then one of my soldiers came in to my field of view from my right-hand side, and seeing his face kind of sort of spurred me on and stopped me screaming. And at that point, my soldiers were all around me then to put the tourniquets on my legs to stop the bleeding. And I kind of managed to sort of switch on a little bit to the situation. But I managed to get him onto the radio to call in for a helicopter to extract me out of the situation. I coordinated him with a camera just to take pictures of the scene for the investigation that followed. And then pretty much from there, I was sort of just lying on the ground, and they stripped me naked. I didn't need to be naked, they just took my clothes off. And I just remember lying there smoking cigarettes and drinking water until the helicopter came. It was quite relaxing, I suppose.
I mean, incredible presence of mind to take photographs, and I guess you were still the boss at that stage, weren't you? You were still in control.
Yeah, and I think I was very, well, fortunate's not the word, but I still had the adrenaline rush, and for that reason, it sort of kept the pain away for a few minutes, and it allowed me to kind of think about my responsibility, and my responsibility at that moment in time were my 6 soldiers in front of me who had just effectively had their leader taken out of the picture. So my responsibility was still very much to make sure that they were sorted before I went out of there, and thankfully for me, I had a very impressive second in command who was all over it, and I needn't worry.
So that responsibility, in a way, spurred you on, gave you strength?
Yeah, definitely.
And then you came back to the UK, via Camp Bastion, and you came back to the UK, and then what was the process of healing and seeing your family again, and what was the impact on them?
I think the impact on my family was perhaps larger than I'll ever fully appreciate. Me, at this moment in time, I don't have any children. I don't know what it's like as a parent to have a child go through some sort of situation like this. So I don't think I'd ever fully appreciate what it's like for them. But I remember I spoke to them on the phone the day after to say that I was all right. I had a doctor hovering next to me in case I said something which I wasn't allowed to say, but he snatched the phone off me quickly. And I managed to speak to them for a couple of minutes and tell them that everything was going to be all right. And then I was flown back sort of 2 days after, back to the UK. And my dad tells me that the first time he saw me was when I was being rushed into intensive care at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Birmingham. And that's when he first broke down, because he could see I think, the reality in front of him that his son has sort of come back with these kind of injuries. And he tells me that he said to the doctor, like, he can have my legs, and he offered to chop them off, but I don't want his old legs, so I'll have my nice German ones.
And then what was the reality for you for the next few months at least?
Rehabilitation. Life was beyond recognition at that point. I mean, mentally I was still the same. I still had my family around me, but mobility, everything was different. So from then it was straight into rehabilitation. After a period of 4 or 5 weeks in hospital in Birmingham, I was straight to the fantastic military rehabilitation centre in Headley Court, where within 2 weeks of being there, so this is just 8 weeks after losing my legs, I was back up and walking again on these tiny little stubby legs, which make you about 4 feet tall. And from then, about 6 weeks after, so 14 weeks after I lost my legs, I was back to full height again and learning to walk again, which was just incredible.
And I know something really positive happened with your now lovely wife, because you decided to get married.
Yeah, she said yes, I'm an idiot. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what it's all about, isn't it? Coming together at times of adversity and pulling through collectively.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be in any state that you see me now without the support of Hayley and my family.
Okay, and what about your plans now? Because it's been a long, hard road for you, but there's exciting times ahead, aren't there?
Very exciting times. So immediately on the horizon at the minute is the Invictus Games, which is kindly being presented by Jaguar Land Rover, and which we've heard so much about tonight. So this is the sporting competition for wounded, injured, sick servicemen, which I'm very hopeful to be selected for. So we're still going through the trials process for the team at the minute.
Oh, you'll be in, won't you? Come on.
Well, I don't know. We'll see. If I'm good enough. I've got a race tomorrow, so we shall see.
Have you really? I hope you haven't been drinking tonight.
I have not.
Good.
Too much. So I've got.
So what's your trial tomorrow?
Tomorrow evening is just an open race, so I'm aiming for the 200-metre sprint on my prosthetic blades, and the 200 metres is incredibly technically difficult from a sprinting point of view, with the bend and with the straight, and especially where I don't have any knees to help me around the corners. And I'm hoping that if I can make all of my mistakes between now and September, then hopefully I might be in with a shot of getting a medal in September.
Maybe you could just arrange just one long straight 200
Yeah,
metre line. Doesn't work like that, does it?
Get rid of the bend and just go for it.
But sport is just this incredible vehicle for change, isn't it? And what has it done for you, both physically and psychologically, in the healing process?
Well, I think the physical side of sport is extremely obvious. When you're injured and are learning to cope with new mobility methods, it helps you physically, and it takes your mind off the fact you're trying to learn to walk with new legs. So when I was learning to walk with these legs, I'd play basketball because it took my mind off the fact that I was trying to walk and I could just concentrate on bouncing the ball. But actually my first experience of sport since I was injured was with my family again. I owe them a lot. We took part in a series of open water swims to raise money, and my first swim was in June after I got injured. So we were looking at 4 months after I got injured in London Docklands in 2011, which was a mile swim with, as far as I'm aware, I was the only sort of disabled swimmer there, and I made sure that I entered the water dead last, and I just overtook a load of people on the way around and overtook the rest of my family and got in 34 minutes.
Impressive.
Yeah.
That is impressive.
Psychologically, like for me, as soon as I sort of got in the water, and it wasn't very dignified the way that I got in, but as soon as I got in the water, actually it didn't really matter about anything else, because no one could see the fact you didn't have any legs, you were just swimming and everything was kind of normal again. And it gives you that sort of mental focus to sort of readjust and train again for something, I suppose, and focus on something, have a goal. And from then I took up sitting volleyball, and from there, just 10 months after I lost my legs, I was back on my running blades again. Well, I say again, I never had running blades before, but I was back running again.
And you're a boxing coach?
Yeah. So as far as I'm aware, I'm the UK's first double amputee boxing coach. We started a club in one of the sort of high crime areas in Southampton, just teaching young kids how to box. We could afford to do it one night a week, and soon we had about 35, 40 kids come through the door on a Monday evening just wanting to do something, and it was fantastic. And even though I didn't have the same mobility that I had before, for them, I think it was just a good chance to see there didn't necessarily need to be these limitations. And the kids, I think, found it really interesting just to talk to me and then spar with me, and it was quite good.
Absolutely, I'm sure you inspired them greatly. So what would you tell our lovely audience tonight about the Invictus Games? How do we get our tickets, for example?
You can get your tickets from the website, which is www.invictusgames.org, or maybe .uk.
Google Invictus Games.
You can Google it. You get your tickets on there. Tickets are online on sale now. They cost £12.85, I believe, per ticket, which gets you access to Premier League sport. So we're talking injured servicemen from 13 different countries, all coming together to sort of A, celebrate being in each other's company, B, still being alive, C, competing in some high-level sport. And I've seen a lot of the hopefuls, the trialists for the games, certainly from the UK team, and the standard of sport is going to be extremely high. And I would certainly hope that there'd be some future Paralympic medal winners coming to the Invictus Games. And
it's between the 10th and the 14th of September.
That's correct, 10th and the 14th.
We will be there. Can we have a show of hands? Who's going to join us?
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Great stuff. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, David Henson. Fantastic. Well done. Brilliant. Well done. Thank you. A well-deserved standing ovation. Ladies and gentlemen, what an inspirational man. David Henson. Thank you very much for talking to us, David. Thank you from everyone here at the Royal Albert Hall. Best of luck in the Invictus Games.